Welcome, listeners, to Time for an Awakening on Black Talk Radio Network, new media for the new millennia. This is a history and current events program from a cultural perspective. We find this program necessary because Hosea 4:6 states, "My people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge." But we as a people will turn this around. Proverbs 4:7 states, "Wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom. So I getting it and understanding." Again, welcome to the program this evening with your hosts, Brother Elliott and Brother Richard. The number to reach us to get involved in the conversation this evening is 215-490-9832. That's 215-490-9832. We're streaming live audio at several locations. You can go to timeforanawakening.com, which is the homepage, and catch the live stream at that location. You can listen at www.blacktalkradionetwork.com/Time for an Awakening. Again, that's www.blacktalkradionetwork.com/Time for an Awakening, and catch the live stream there also. You can join us at bbitumi.com. That's abibitumi.com/Time for an Awakening. They stream from Ghana, or you can download the TuneIn Radio app to any of your devices. TuneIn Radio is a free radio app. In the TuneIn search engine, just type in Time for an Awakening. There you'll see the icon, and you can stream the program live, even into your car if you had the Bluetooth capabilities or the auxiliary connection. Again, that's Time for an Awakening radio program with a live stream on the TuneIn app. Drop us an email at timeforanawakening@gmail.com. Again, that's timeforanawakening@gmail.com. Time for an Awakening also has a fan page on Facebook. In that Facebook search engine, just type in Time for an Awakening radio program. There you'll always see interesting content being posted daily by myself or Brother Richard. And do me a favor before you leave that page, just hit that like button. That's Time for an Awakening radio program with the fan page on Facebook, and Time for an Awakening media is also there. Always full of the latest podcasts of the various programs on Time for an Awakening media, interesting articles that you can read, download at later times, and share with your friends. Also check out that Time for an Awakening marketplace and our partnership with the BB2Me. Always interesting things in the marketplace all the time. Various African language classes on education, economics, social systems, health, and much, much more being taught by professors on both the continent and in the diaspora. So again, make that one of your favorites. Put that in your address bar. That's timeforanawakening.com. Timeforanawakening.com will take you straight to Time for an Awakening media. It's 7:08 here on this Sunday edition of Time for an Awakening, the Sunday, September the 29th edition of Time for an Awakening. Our guest that is scheduled to join us this evening, activist, organizer, and lead activist for the American Redress Coalition of California, and also of the Coalition for a Just and Equitable California. Chris Logson is scheduled to join us this evening in part two of the discussion that we had a couple of weeks ago with Sister Consa Jones-Muhammad about sharing more information about the California Black Caucus blockage of key reparations bills and the community's response to the failure of black leadership. We'll be right back to get the program started after a brief word from our sponsors.
Mr. Moderator, our distinguished guests, brothers and sisters, our friends and our enemies. Everybody is here.
You are listening to Time for an Awakening Media, part of the Black Talk Radio Network. For podcasts or live programming, hit them up at timeforanawakening.com.
All Insurance Incorporated, an African-American owned and operated insurance agency in business for over 20 years, located at 231 Southeastern Road in Glenside, PA, with other offices in Germantown and West Philadelphia. Call now for commercial insurance quotes, homeowners insurance quotes, automobile insurance quotes, notary and tax services, representing over 15 major A-rated insurance companies, offering a discount on all notary services when you call in for a free quote. Call this number, 215-885-2444. That number is 215-885-2444. 215-885-2444. All Insurance Incorporated.
Before your roof becomes unruly, call Dooley. Dooley Brothers, specializing in shingle, rubber roofs, gutters, downspouts, and vinyl sidings. Call for your free estimate today. 215-224-3882. That's 215-224-3882. Dooley Brothers Roofing, the roofing experts you can trust. That number again, 215-224-3882. 215-224-3882. Before your roof becomes unruly, call Dooley.
RG Electrical Inspections provides electrical inspections for realtors, licensed electricians, and homeowners. Licensed and insured underwriter, serving Philadelphia and surrounding area. Call today, 484-268-9837.
Overworked? Suffering with an underperforming company, headache customer, staff, or vendors? Or are you a startup who wants to get it right the first time and avoid the costly mistakes? We turned a $24,000 a year odd job handyman service into a 7-figure high-end custom home builder and commercial contractor licensed and operating in 3 states. This is just one transformation created for entrepreneurs like you in various industries around the country. Not what you're used to from accounting and business consulting? Well, welcome to New Business Solutions. If you're ready to go beyond advising, coaching, and training and get implemented results, call 301-244-9072. Let New Business Solutions apply the best comprehensive administrative, accounting, operations, human resources, management, sales, and marketing to help you actualize your vision for yourself and your company. From anywhere nationally, call 301-244-9072. Spelled new as in numerous on your device right now. Book your free consultation at newbusinesssolutions.com.
History is a clock that people use to tell their political and cultural time of day. It is also a compass that people use to find themselves on the map of human geography. History tells of people where they have been and what they have been, where they are and what they are. Most important, history tells a people where they still must go, what they still must be. The relationship of history to the people is the same as the relationship of a mother to her child.
From antiquity to the present, our people need to develop a new paradigm. It's time for an awakening with your host, Brother Elliott. Sundays, 7 p.m., Fridays at 8 p.m. for podcasting or live program scheduling. Hit us up at timeforanawakening@gmail.com. Welcome back. The Time for an Awakening is 7:13 on this Sunday edition of Time for an Awakening. Before we get started with our program this evening, I want to welcome in my co-host, Philadelphia activist and tour guide at the African American Museum here in Philadelphia at 7th and Arch Street. Brother Richard is with us. Brother Richard.
Yes, sir, Brother Elliott.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing fine. Hey, Elliott, it's been a busy week for Brother Man over here. We got to meet Dr. Earl Henderson in the flesh. That was really exciting. And exciting from the point of, just being able to see someone who's done the research and looking at Black power from a political perspective. And, I've raised before in his book, The Revolution Will Not Be Theorized, Cultural Revolution in the Era of Black Power, that he made reference to about reparations and how, the pursuit of reparations being a structural, a structural change, not just something so it was good to see them. And then I also participated with another cemetery and being able to, in Philadelphia, and being able to talk about abolitionism. And it's interesting, Elliott, because, and I think I mentioned to you before, in doing this here, preparing for this tour, it brought me back to the point of looking at Dr. Du Bois' abolitionist democracy, which we, that's in the reading group on Clubhouse, we kind of, went through Black Reconstruction. So that was exciting to see, putting that ideal of the difference between white abolitionism and Black abolitionism and Black people, nation building. And so those are the things, in spite of the temperature dropping and the rain coming, but not as bad as in North Carolina, I understand, or Florida. But things were good.
Richard, we were scheduled to have Brother Chris Larkson join us, and he might still do that because he's in California. I'll kind of leave the light on for him just in case he kind of gets in later. He's scheduled to kind of do part 2 on the discussion that we started with Sister Constance Jones Muhammad in Los Angeles. They had town hall meetings up there in Sacramento, and I think he was at the Capitol when they confronted some of the lawmakers. So we'll kind of hopefully he'll still join us in the discussion. Other than that, we'll just transfer into open forum and discussion, general discussions on different issues. Richard, a couple of things, and I'm glad you mentioned Professor Henderson being here. I think it was Wednesday, wasn't it, Richard?
Tuesday.
Because beside his book, The Revelation Will Not Be Theorized, he has other books dealing with our people's views on geopolitics, or how we should look at it. In similar vein of some of the other guests that we've had on, Ezra Halaroon and Gerald Horn. I mean, would you agree, Richard?
Oh, yes, especially if people look at Afrocentrism and world politics towards a new paradigm, or African realism, international relations theory, and African wars in the post-colonial era, things like that. Yeah, so it's being able to be, what I like about Dr. Henderson, his analysis, and one thing that I did pick up, I finally got it, as he says, I'm not about advocacy, but about accuracy in relationship to analysis. So yes, as a political scientist, which is different than being a historian, he's looking at the power relationship as it relates to war.
Richard, the reason I brought that up is because there's been some things happening here over the past couple of weeks that I think we need to do a little discussion on and hopefully get the listeners' response to it. Couple of things. The trial of Omali Yeshitela and I think 3 other people. But knowing our position here and what's been happening for hundreds of years, I think the other folks was kind of thrown in for window dressing, so to speak, Richard. I think the main focus was Omali Yeshitela. I don't know whether you would necessarily agree with that, but that's
yes. Mm-hmm.
But that was my opinion. I want to kind of touch on some of that because I think if you've noticed, Richard, the media by and large hasn't talked about it. Mm-hmm. And black media definitely hasn't talked about it. But I've seen it in a couple of print media internationally about the results of the trial. But I want to kind of circle back around on that. And like I said, we'll talk about some issues until Chris Lawson joins us. And hopefully he is not tied up because, because of the time difference, although, we did kind of nail that down. But we're going to move forward. Richard, before I do that and talk about some of the things dealing with that trial and get people's response to it, we see here that the Pentagon, according to published reports in several publications, that the Pentagon, which is the U.S., is sending additional troops to the Middle East because of the tensions that has been mounting there. According to this report in The Hill, the U.S. has an array of forces positioned in the Middle East, including the USS Abraham Lincoln, the Aircraft Strike Group, and ballistic missile submarines, the USS Georgia, along with additional squadrons of F-22 fighters. There are 6 U.S. warships, including the U.S. Wasp and amphibious assault ships. So it's troops in that area, Richard, and being sent there. And again, this affects this whole thing, the support of Israel, the escalations of what's going on, the genocide that's happening there. We're here. So it will affect us one way or the other if we decide not to say anything as a collective or if we decide to go along with it. Do you follow what I'm saying, Richard?
Oh, definitely.
Let me play. This was on the Politics Nation, the Al Sharpton show. And he had the black media relations person to the Harris campaign on his program. And I want to play her comments to what she said. I don't think we have to even dwell on the other party because it's 2 parties in this country that are sanctioned. I'm not talking about the independent candidate who we've had on, Cornel West. But it's 2 parties that we have sanctioned, and according to Bruce Dixon and my other late brother, one is openly against black folks, and the other one pretends to be a friend of black people. So without further ado, let me play the conversation between the black media representative for the Harris campaign and Sharpton and what she said about some of the things going on presently, and get your opinion on some of the answers, Richard. I think the answers are key. Let me get this here.
Joining me now is Jasmine Harris, the director for black media with the Harris-Walsh 2024 campaign. Ms. Harris, thank you for coming on the show tonight. Before we start, I'd like to get the Harris' campaign's reaction to the Israeli airstrike in Beirut that killed Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah.
From the very beginning of this, Vice President Harris has been clear that she's working day in and day out, side by side with President Biden, to bring common sense solutions to this complex issue. And our campaign will continue to make sure that we're making clear to American voters across the country that there's only one candidate in this election with the leadership, with the dignity, with the character to deal with such a complex issue and bring a peaceful solution to it.
Talking about leadership, yesterday Vice President Harris made...
Richard, let me stop it right there. And I'm going to continue it on because he mentioned a couple other things. But you heard the question, right, Richard?
Right.
Now, this is the media relations, black media relations person from the Harris campaign. Did you hear the answer? Or, I don't know whether you would categorize that as an answer. Did you hear the answer? You heard his question, but did you hear the answer?
Yeah.
Richard, see, I play these clips for a reason. So our people can hear some of these people that represent you or speak for people that's supposed to represent you. I mean, maybe I'm a little slow, Richard. I mean, did you hear that answer? What was that?
Answer that's not an answer.
And Richard, I want you to be fair too. I mean, because I'm trying to be fair here. I mean, what am I a fool? What kind of answer is that?
So what was missing? What do you see is missing, Elliott? We heard it.
The answer wasn't even addressing what was stated. Right. What was her position on this bombing going on? And America's clearly involved. It's clearly that they're involved. Now, because I just read that they're sending troops to the area. So if troops are not on the ground, they say they're not. I really suspect something different. The intelligence is there. You follow what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
So it's an involvement. And plus they're giving weapons to Israel. So it's an involvement. But the answer the answer makes no sense. I'll play it again, just because maybe I'm hearing wrong. Maybe the listening audience want to weigh in on it. Maybe they hear something different. Let me play her answer again.
Joining me now is Jasmine Harris, the director for Black Media with the Harris-Walsh 2024 campaign. Ms. Harris, thank you for coming on the show tonight. Before we start, I'd like to get the Harris' campaign's reaction to the Israeli airstrike in Beirut that killed Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah.
From the very beginning of this, Vice President Harris has been clear that she's working day in and day out, side by side with President Biden, to bring common sense solutions to this complex issue. And our campaign will continue to make sure that we're making clear to American voters across the country that there's only one candidate in this election with the leadership, with the dignity, with the character to deal with such a complex issue and bring a peaceful solution to it.
Talking about leadership.
Okay, Richard, now, Beirut, Lebanon is north of Israel. That's another front. That's not Gaza. Mm-hmm. This is another area where this conflict is being taken to. This was the same area where booby-trap telephones and pagers blew up on people's persons, in their house, all over. Quite a few people, and I don't have the number in front of me, quite a few people were killed and maybe 1,000 casualties. And according to the Geneva Convention and others, you're not supposed to be able to booby trap, like household devices. I read the quote unquote rules of war, so to speak, last week on the program. So this is another front. Lebanon and Beirut is another front. So this is clearly an expansion of the conflict there. This is not Gaza. That's what I'm saying. That answer makes no sense. This is the liaison to black media. And that's the answer that you're giving black media. Something that makes absolutely no sense. That some of our children, as we speak, are involved in that foolishness. Now, I'm talking about over there.
Right.
Now, I'll continue because there's only a couple more things that he asks her in reference to what's going on, but I just wanted to start with that. Let me play the rest of it.
Yesterday, Vice President Harris made her first visit to the border since becoming the Democratic nominee for president, and she pledged to crack down on illegal immigration. Why was it important to go now, and how does the campaign think black voters will react to Harris taking a tougher stance on illegal immigration?
I think that this is just another example for the American people of the choice they have in this election. Vice President Harris has been clear that she is committed to bringing common sense solutions to the border. She's also made very clear that she is committed to signing the bipartisan border deal into law. On the other hand, you have Donald Trump, who blew up the bipartisan border deal because he wanted to create political problems. So again, on one side, you have Vice President Harris, who is ready and willing to take action. And on the other side, you have Donald Trump, who wants to play political games.
Let me go to this issue. This week, Vice President Harris delivered a major economic speech in Philadelphia where she pledged to take on corporate price gouging and lowering the cost of living for struggling Americans. How can her vision for the economy also help to boost black communities?
You know, an opportunity economy is one that prioritizes black Americans. When you look at holding corporations accountable who are rising the cost of everyday goods that hardworking folks need to buy on a daily basis, when you look at providing support to those that want to buy homes for the first time, when you look at getting rid of medical debt, right? When you look at making sure that healthcare costs are low across the board and continuing to cap the cost of insulin at $35, not just for elder Americans, but for all Americans. These are all common sense tools that will help black Americans be able to get ahead and not just get by. When you look at the economic opportunity tour that the Vice President led across the country, when she talked about making sure that black Americans across the country that wanted to start their own business had the access to capital that they needed and the support from federal contracts that they needed, the Vice President is the only candidate in this election who cares and is putting, action behind providing real access to black Americans.
All right. Thank you, Jasmine Harris, the Director for Black Media with the Harris-Walz 2024 campaign.
Okay, so you heard it, Richard.
Yeah, we got the foreign policy. We got the, which is not foreign. I don't want to make a comment. We got the economic and, which is, I have some thoughts around that. But, yeah.
And you heard her say that that this opportunity economy prioritizes black Americans. Mm-hmm. That's what she said. I didn't hear Harris say anything of that nature. And she's had the opportunity to say that. She spoke at the with the Association of Black Journalists. I've never heard her say anything about something prioritizing black people.
And that's a major, it's interesting how these elections play, and especially in this moment, right? Because black people who are supporting, and we're talking about black people, right? And supporting the two major political candidates. What I find is people are saying, recognizing this point that a economic policy can't be projected that is going to specifically be about supporting black people, right? So that's one concern. I mean, and Elliott, is that something? Well, I have to ask it because I keep hearing that. Should we expect a presidential candidate to do that?
Well, Richard, I hear that all the time too. That a candidate can't say that, but you see it all the time happening. I mean, I just read last week the hundreds of billions of dollars that has went to Ukraine, and not just for defense, for their podcasters, to get them housing. You've seen almost everyday stuff that they're getting. And when they come here, they're not standing in sleeping in hotels, on the street, congregating at libraries. They've matriculated right into society. That's your money. Congress voted on it with bipartisan support. Israel gets stuff all the time. So it's a lot of people that get stuff directed towards them. A gay and lesbian lobby that's part of domestic and foreign policy. So it's stuff directed towards interest groups and nationalities all the time. But when it comes to you, our people want to take the back seat. We can't answer that. We can't do that. You want to settle for this trickle down. That's what she talk. Now listen here. They want to play this game about some 2025. That was written by the Heritage Foundation. Richard, do you recall, right, Richard?
Right.
They've been writing government policy since the early 70s. that Reagan and several of them used, including Democratic people, Democratic presidents. That trickle-down stuff that she's talking about, this opportunity economy that's going to go to the middle class first, because all the commercials we see on TV is directed towards the middle class. The other idiot is talking about the rich. So either way, if you're talking about working people, black folks out here working from paycheck to paycheck, struggling, and I'm not even mentioning the straight out poor, then it's a trickle-down economy. That's from the Heritage Foundation. So she's professing some of their values. But want to play a game with black people talking about 2024 is directed towards you, this and that, and these evil people. This is politics. This is American politics.
You know, Elliott, when you talk about American politics and you talk about the middle class, the Clubhouse, another thing, the Lost Files, which is a book discussion. And one thing that came up in one of the books that we were reviewing was about dog whistles, dog whistle politics. And it's just interesting, one of the dog whistles that was presented was the whole thing of the reference of the middle class. And why it's so interesting, Elliott, to the point that you're making, is that going through the whole thing of how in the language of politics, right, in the propagandizing in order to get votes to win elections, as far as from Wallace till now, when we hear the term dog whistle, the question we have to ask ourselves, who is the major constituency group that the term middle class is referencing? And I'm saying that from the point that you're making, right? If this is supposed to be, a point of the black middle class being supported by these policies, opportunity, what is it? The opportunity economy, the $25,000 for home, first-time homeowners, daycare. They're supposed to be policies, economic policies that would lift all who are in this here. What's this? In the economy that we're in. But when we hear the term middle class, is that from a political campaigning perspective, speaking specifically to those white constituents who they want to get that vote in order to be able to win the election, more than really speaking about policies tailored to, which most of, I would say, Elliott, most of the black constituency does not fall necessarily in the middle class, middle income, but a part of the working class and working poor. Mm-hmm. That's different.
Yeah. I would agree.
But Elliott, it's this is also campaign. So how much do we put credence? And I think that we should be, as far as black people, we should be evaluating, what they call it, the campaign language, right? You open with the, Sharpton asking very straightforward questions, and the representative giving, especially as it relates to foreign policy, answers that doesn't really touch that. How, should we be critical of the language of the campaign? Should we look at those as the things that will be true? Or do we have to look at the mechanics? And it makes me think of, back to California and the reparations. We thought that the bills that were supposed to be presented, right, coming out of 2 years of review, were a no-brainer in going through. But when it gets to the last hour, the Black Legislative Caucus doesn't push it through. This something was supposed to be specifically for Black people, but it doesn't happen. What does that mean at the state level, and what does these policy mean for Black people specifically at the national level? So it raises the question to me. We have to be very, not just critical, but clear of what we're listening to is the point I'm making. And to the point you made, is Black media helping us in general analyze so that we can be able to not have false expectations or not really be thinking something is for all of us as far as Black people when it might be just for a segment of Black people. And they can say, look what I have benefit from this. Like we hear on the other side, the other candidate, the representatives, Black representatives said, look what I have benefit from this person being president. Shouldn't we be clear of that?
Yeah, well, Richard, I'm, it's certain things now that's really starting to, the puzzle pieces is really starting to fit. I've always had my perspective on this, and there's clear evidence to why I feel this way, and I'm not alone. There's millions of other Black folks that feel this way. But, sometime when you sitting down putting the pieces together, just like you're putting the puzzle together, you know how the picture's supposed to look or how it's going to look. But then you're finding the pieces to fit here and there. If you follow the analogy I'm giving.
Right.
This is what I will say, because it relates to what you're talking about the struggle for reparations in California. And you see other struggles breaking out in other areas, including Philadelphia. Right here, Richard. And I want our people to really look at this and put your notions of what you might think it is aside for a second. Just look at it. Look at what's really going on. Now, I mentioned about Omali Yeshitela and that trial that you basically didn't hear anything about, Richard. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Listen, I watched the television. You don't. It wasn't on television at all. But you follow other media sources. And, in print, you really didn't. Do you agree? There really wasn't much said about this.
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all. Not at all.
Now, I believe that and it's clear evidence that the trial was basically aimed at him. Let me read something, because I want to read a couple of things dealing with this. First, I want to read that what Omali Yeshitela wrote in the Black Agenda report on September the 18th, and published report. And I'm going to read a couple of paragraphs, what he stated about the trial and the focus being on him. This comes from the Black Agenda report. It says, this was a political trial. The colonial state's goal was bigger than simply convicting me and putting me in prison. Their failed efforts to convince a jury that we are foreign agents was part of a larger political goal to forever discredit speech by Black people and other colonized peoples against our oppression at the hands of the U.S. government. The government told the jury that when we demanded reparations for our people, that it was Russians that told us to do that. The jury said no. They told the jury that when we fought to expose and end the genocide against African people in the U.S. and around the world, it was Russians that told us to do it. The jury said no. They told the jury that when we go around the world to win friends and allies in our struggle for freedom, it was the Russians that made us do it. the jury said no. The U.S. government lied. They lost. We told the truth. We won. Now, Richard, I heard from two other sources, very reliable sources that was at the trial, say that when the government put forth their case, they said that reparations, the struggle for reparations here in this country, that Omali Yeshitela was involved in, was given to him by Russian agents to disrupt the election process in the United States. Now, you hear me clearly, Richard, that the reparations struggle was something given to him to disrupt the election process and start discord among U.S. citizens.
Let me make sure I got this. So reparations, this is a case made by the federal government.
Yeah, the United States, yes. It was the United States against Omali Yeshitela.
Because a black person who has been organizing who comes out of SNCC,
yes,
and organizing for over the last 50 years,
yes,
who has, they're saying that his language or his projection in America about condition or demand by and for Black Americans are something that was given to him by Russia.
Yes.
This is not something that has amongst Black, the point of demanding repair, the point of looking for, if nothing else, one of the planks, restitution, is something that comes out of the political analysis and historical organizing of Black people that goes almost to the beginning of the 20th century. That is something that some foreign country
had to tell Black people to do, like we were some type of puppets.
And because and this goes to the speech, because Black people are speaking to Black people, and it may be dangerous to America's geopolitical position. That's why they're saying it was given to them more than this is a clear analysis based off of Black people's historical experience in America. Is that?
Yes.
Am I coming across clear?
Yeah. Yes.
And that ain't nothing new. That every time we do something in our own interest, that somebody else, we ain't mature enough as a people to be able to utilize the tenets that we also, as Black people say, we help for freedom of speech. We're not mature enough to be able to utilize the tenet of freedom of speech in our own interest and demand, if nothing else, to say how we've been harmed and wish to be compensated one way or another by the government. That we're not mature enough to do that on a national and international stage to make our voice heard about the harm that we have experienced and and the demand we expect. We're not mature enough to do that. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, not mature enough, maybe not smart enough to do it on your own. Keep in mind, Richard, that I always say, and I know that it might be insulting to some Black people. They figure that, listen, I'm not talking about how we feel about ourselves. I'm talking about how Europeans view you. They figure that you are less intelligent than they are. So if that's not true, Richard, then why do they keep saying that you have to be directed to do these things? You heard it last week when I played the clip of the South African representative talking to the Black Caucus. And then afterwards, the media person, Joy Reid, had some type of open media session. And Whites was asking him questions. You heard what they said. Oh, Iran's directing you to do this. Did you hear? You heard the questions. I mean, that he was being directed to do that, to put in that suit against with the International Criminal Court against Israel. That somebody had to be directing them to do that.
Hey, Elliott, they did say that. So not only does this apply, this principle, not only applies to Black people, organizers, people who are actually on the ground. O'Malley is actually at Detroit and in Florida. They are one, building a party, two, actually engaged in development within a community, that they are involved on the ground. So it ain't just something happening here in North America that your speech is being challenged, and in the sense that you couldn't have thought that of your own. Even South Africa, as a nation state, excuse my expression, you Negroes couldn't have thought that. Y'all would put up to that. Is that what I'm hearing you say, Elliott?
Yeah, because they look at you. See, it's our people through ignorance to a degree. And when I say ignorance, I'm not talking about anybody being stupid. Through ignorance of the degree, look at us as being different. These Europeans look at you all the same, whether you're on the continent or here or in the islands or in South America. If you're of African descent, they look at you the same. They responded to that, the gentleman from South Africa, the same way they was responding to Omali Yeshitela, saying that he's being directed by a foreign government.
But the difference is they can take our Black behind and to court for political speech. We ain't harm nobody, right? And say that you are a threat, not because of something you did, but because of what an issue that is important to you and the impact it makes. Because it wouldn't be no problem if they didn't think that people would be galvanized around Black people specifically, right? That's what even the polls say. Black people in large numbers identify with reparations as a political issue. Well, in 2024.
They're saying that him, and you're absolutely right, but I'm just emphasizing what you're saying. They're saying that his struggle for reparations and his assertion that the United States government is committing genocide against Black Americans or people of African descent, that's they're Russian bots. I'll use that stupid ass term that's used on social media, that he's a Russian bot. These people are really a joke. And it just shows Black people that they don't, listen, we fought for this country, made it what it is, but we don't have the rights we think we have. You don't have freedom of speech. We're still living under Dred Scott and that damn Tawney. Mm. You got rights that they decreed you have. You don't have any rights that they're bound to respect. Now, let me keep on. I just want to add a couple more things to put this picture together, Richard, this puzzle. Because we see here that they came after Chairman Omali Yeshitela because of his activism on reparations and his assertion that the police and other government entities committing genocide against Blacks that live in America. Right? Now, Let me add a couple other pieces to that puzzle, if it's cloudy for some other folks. I'm going to read a State Department press release. Anthony Bilkin speaking to the State Department in the Washington briefing on September the 13th of this year, 2024. And something that he said. Now, I'm quite sure some of our listening audience is familiar with the site African Streams. You said that you were, Richard.
Right.
I wasn't really that familiar. It's a site that gives news on the continent from a Pan-African perspective. Am I right saying that?
Yes.
Okay. Now, let's look at it. And see, this is where I've always asserted that however we want to self-identify, whether it's Freedmen, ADOS, Pan-Africans, however, that we can deal with that. But when we let that seep out to people that really want to come at us, they can use it as a tool to divide. Now, check this out here. This is in Anthony Bilkin's remarks to the State Department. And they're what he's doing here, and you can go onto the State Department website and read it for yourself. I would suggest that you do that, because these other black media outlets, including popular ones here in Philadelphia, Sharpton, Bo Martin, and others, is not going to encourage people to do these things. Go in there and read it for yourself. I'm going to read just a couple of paragraphs here in what he stated. It says, this is Bilkin, while crowdfunding campaigns is out in the open, what's hidden is that this program is administered by the leaders of RT. And that's hold on a second, I'm sorry. That's this Russian media outlet that Bilkin, this whole thing is directed towards what they're saying is interference in American politics. It says, while a crowdfunding campaign is out in the open, what's hidden is that this program is administered by the leaders of Russian media. Last week, our government revealed how Russian media launders information operations through unwitting Americans to covertly disseminate Kremlin-produced content and messages to the American public. Today, we're exposing how Russia deploys similar tactics around the world. In Germany, for example, Russian media covertly runs the Berlin-based English language platform Red, a successor to the now defunct Russian link platform Redfish. Russia also secretly runs the online platform African Stream across a wide range of social media platforms. Now, according to the outlet's website, African Streams is, I quote, a Pan-African digital media organization based exclusively on social media platforms, focused on giving a voice to all Africans, both at home and abroad. In reality, it's only a voice that gives Kremlin propagandists. In reality, its only voice it gives is Kremlin propagandists. Russian media expanded covert capabilities allows it to deepen coordination with traditional Russian intelligence services as they work to manipulate the outcome of democratic elections in the United States, but also around the world. So Richard, wait a minute. Do you see what they're saying, Richard? Mm-hmm. They're saying this site, African Streams.
It's African, right.
Which, according to, and he tried to get smart. He says, according to, and I quote, that's what he says, and I quote, a Pan-African digital media organization based exclusively on social media platforms focused on giving a voice to all Africans, both home and abroad. In reality, its only voice it gives is to Kremlin propaganda. So wait a minute, Richard. Isn't that what they accuse Omali Yeshiteli of?
Right.
He's being a voice for Russia. Well, right. They said the same thing to this site, African Streams.
Right.
And I think they shut it down, if I'm right. Am I right, Richard?
Yeah.
So any of these things that's talking about the reparations, the liberation of our people, the liberation of their minds, is some type of, you're a Russian bot, Richard. You are.
I've been accused.
I mean, what is this? What is this? I want our people to get it. Come on, you can't be. Listen, some of our people they like to just sit and see what people are saying and go back and forth and that was good and like they're watching a boxing match or a tennis match. This is something that you got to be seriously involved in because it's directed towards your children. Believe me, this is.
And Ellie, I have to interject this thought too, in the sense of because it's a concern of mine, right? Especially for Black Americans or American Blacks or American Africans or African Americans, right? As you said, it doesn't matter how we self-identify. The point of our language in relationship to speaking to our perception of how America operates domestically and internationally from our perspective as a people, not as individuals, but as a people who have come through specifically the American experience. What am I trying to say, Elliot? I'm trying to say that Black people, in helping define what freedom is, right? Black people push for and utilize the point of free speech. That isn't free speech one of the tenets of this democracy? Isn't free speech one of the tenets of this democratic society, this democratic republic society? But it's Black people ain't shooting nobody, ain't blowing up nobody, ain't taking no territory, but making analysis of America's impact on Black people, not even other people, that is at challenge. It's not even question. Let's forget Russia. Let's forget their accusation. And let's do what Black people have always been doing in relationship to defining what freedom is in America. And one of the things that is being challenged by Black people, a segment of Black, because are we supposed, you hear about Black people all the time that we're not a monolith, right? But if a segment of Black people say, hold up, let's look at this. Let's be able to analyze this. Let's be able to demand something based off of what's happening to this. And we're only talking. And people say talk is cheap. You can't get nothing from talking, right? Black people, that's what Black people are saying. But obviously, Bilkin and the boys are saying your talk is threatening.
Yes.
And you ain't sophisticated enough to be talking like that.
Wait a minute. And what's really threatening is the two things that they mentioned. They mentioned this. Omali Yeshiteli is a Pan-Africanist. Right. And take that label away. I'm not even going to deal with that. Those are labels. Just like I said, some of our people self-identify as freedmen, whatever. I'm not even going to deal with the labels. His struggle has been for Black people. You heard him say that they came after him for reparations and accusing the United States of genocide, right? Mm-hmm. That was part of the case. I heard it from several witnesses that was there. But you hear, what's the name, bragging to the State Department in this press release that they shut down this Pan-African site because it was dangerous. Now, wait a minute. This is the final piece to the puzzle, Richard, and I'm quite sure there's other pieces. Maybe some of the listening audience might have some pieces. Here's the final piece, Richard. Now, wasn't Du Bois accused of being a Marxist?
Right.
And Robeson accused of being a Marxist, right? Mm. No, am I right?
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Okay.
There's a whole lot of them.
But I'm just focusing in on them too, just for the sake of this conversation.
Yes.
Both Black men that was accused in the United States of similar things that O'Malley accused them of. Now, check this out, Richard, and I want to credit Maurice Carver of Black Men Screaming up in New York for sending me this. And he might call in and talk about it. I wish he do. he sent me something here. Now, Richard, keep in mind that this game that they playing with black people about some 2025 and they're going to do this to you, they do this to you. And I've been saying that this stuff is a government policy. I don't care whether it's 2025 or 2055. This Heritage Foundation has been writing policy for American government that both parties have used. And all you got to do is check it out for yourself. Now, check this out, Richard. This is what Marie sent me. This is from the Heritage Foundation. And this was it's dated November 14th to 2022. The title of it is How Cultural Marxism Threatens the United States. Now, let me read a couple of paragraphs here and put this piece to the puzzle that we're building. This is the Heritage Foundation now, folks. The same ones that wrote 2025. But Trump didn't write that. It's a government think tank. Both of them is involved, Democrats and Republicans. Just like Malcolm says, conservative and quote-unquote liberal. They both use it. Check this out, Richard. I'll read a couple paragraphs. It says, and I'm going to read the header again, How Cultural Marxism Threatens the United States. It says, the United States has successfully confronted Marxism attempts to derail it from its historic path of liberty and order. The multifaceted effort to defeat the enemy, generally referred to as the Cold War, concentrated many of the best minds in the country. In 1991, when the Soviet Union dissolved, many Americans and others around the globe justifiably believed that communism had been defeated. However, American Marxists, making use of the complacency that victory had produced, have gained more influence than ever before. Cloaking their goals under the pretense of social justice, they now seek to dismantle the foundations of American Republic by rewriting history, reintroducing racism, creating classes, and determining what can be said in public discourses. Unless Marxist thought is defeated again, today's cultural Marxists will achieve what the Soviet Union could never do, the subjugation of the United States with a soul-destroying ideology. So wait a minute, Richard, hold it. Do you see what's being said there, Richard? Do you see it?
Yeah, the concern.
So wait a minute. They're saying that now this Marxism is, however, American Marxists have arisen. No more like the Soviet Union. American Marxists. So wasn't Omali Yeshiteli being accused of being an American Marxist?
Yes.
In his use of Pan-Africanism, the fight for reparations, and the assertion that the American government is committing genocide through cops and everything else against black people, that's a Marxist thought, and it should be defeated. Because they are according to this Heritage Foundation's report, they are trying to rewrite history, reintroduce racism. We're just talking about reintroduce it, and determine what can be said in public discourse. I don't know how they're doing that. But you see,
wait a minute, hold on. Determine what can be done. We got that kind of power?
Well, according to the Heritage Foundation, we do. See, Richard, we think that we don't. We think that we're powerless. The only reason because a lot of cases we're not organized.
Yes.
And they make sure that we stay disorganized. We do have that power. We do. But
this organization, by framing it as Pan-African, is global.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
By framing it as Pan-African, what they're saying, that the potential of organizing is global.
Certainly. Certainly. Why do you think they shut down that site? Why do you think they're coming after O'Malley? Why do you think? Well, now here's the thing, Richard. Why do you think now that none of these black elected officials is talking about reparations? You don't think they've been told to stay away from that subject? You don't think they've been told that? Now, sure, they'll address it if asked, if you notice. But they don't introduce it on their own. Do you notice that?
Elliott, you're touching something there.
No.
You're touching something.
Come on, Richard. Come on, man. Listen, we got to be honest. If a media person, whatever, asks a politician about reparations, then they're forced to give an answer, and usually it's a runaround answer. But if you notice, they don't introduce it themselves organically. They've been told to stay away from it, and they do. Now all the pieces is on the table, people. I didn't put my puzzle together. Let me see if you put yours together. Let me hear what you got to say about this. Maybe I'm wrong. School me if I am, because I need help. This is what this program is for. We're brothers and sisters in a struggle. And we can't leave our children. We can't leave, just like Minister Farrakhan says in one of them clips I play. We can't keep passing this down to generation after generation. We can't do that. It's got to stop one way or the other. Maybe I'm wrong. Help me out. There's some callers on the line. We're going to take a brief break, and when we come back, we're going to get to some of the callers. You can get involved in the conversation, too, by dialing 215-490-9832. That's 215-490-9832. Time for an awakening. We'll be right back.
Listening to Time for an Awakening. Time for an Awakening with host Brother Elliott and Brother Richard on Time for an Awakening Media, part of the Black Talk Radio Network. For podcasting or live program scheduling, hit them up at timeforanawakening@gmail.com.
All Insurance Incorporated, an African-American owned and operated insurance agency and business for over 20 years, located at 231 Southeastern Road in Glenside, PA, with other offices in Germantown and West Philadelphia. Call now for commercial insurance quotes, homeowners insurance quotes, automobile insurance quotes, notary and tax services, representing over 15 major A-rated insurance companies, offering a discount on all notary services when you call in for a free quote. Call this number, 215-885-2444. That number is 215-885-2444. 215-885-2444. All Insurance Incorporated.
RG Electrical Inspections provides electrical inspections for realtors, licensed electricians, and homeowners. Licensed and insured underwriter, serving Philadelphia and surrounding area. Call today, 484-268-9837.
Escape the digital plantation. abibitumi.com, abibitumi.tv, abibitumitv.com, abibitumi.store are here for you. You are ready to be free of non-African social media. Don't run from danger, run to safety. abibitumi.com is here for you. You are ready to be free of digital plantations to control your own products. abibitumi.store is here for you. ABIBITUMI, Black Power. ABIBITUMI. The only word you need to know to join your global Kemetiu Black family, to join your interconnected Kemetiu Black communities, Escape the digital plantation now. abibitumi.com, abibitumi.tv, abibitumitv.com, abibitumi.store. We are here for you. Escape the digital plantation.
It does not profit black people or poor people anything to have the vote and not be able to select the candidates who they want to choose. Now, how can you choose between Lyndon Johnson, Nixon, Agnew, Wallace, and Humphrey? There is no choice. Evil is evil. There's nothing in between that. I think the vote can only be used as a tool of organization. We can only use the vote to organize our people. Now, to really believe that we can put someone in office and that these people would be responsive to our needs is naive, politically naive. Because even if one of the black candidates who ran for office was to take the office of president, then black people must be prepared to fight against that person. Why? Because, you see, the system mandates the action of the individual. The individual does not determine how this country will function. This country works off the military-industrial complex, which means that it's profitable to wage war. And unless you devise another plan, another scheme to sustain, to boost this economy, then it's going to be necessary to wage war. Whether, a black individual is in office or a white individual is in office. Well, so we're talking about a complete, a change in system.
The system is rotten to the core. That's why every time we have had a presidential election, whether it's white or black, you always have to choose between the lesser of two evils. So you either vote for Satan or the devil, and you catch hell with either one.
This included comedians, comics, trumpet players, baseball players. Show me in the white community where a comedian is a white leader. Show me in the white community where a singer is a white leader, or a dancer or a trumpet player is a white leader. These aren't leaders. These are puppets and clowns that have been set up over the white community and over the black community by the white community and have been made celebrities and usually say exactly what they know that the white man wants to hear.
One black man believes in violence, one believes in integration, one believes that one day after we all marry white women, we'll all be a light brown color and there'll be no problem. One believes that if we get enough politics and education, we can take over the country and be the mayor and the president. One believes, such as I, that separating on some land will solve it. Cleaning up our own neighborhoods, respecting our own women, and doing something for ourselves and quit begging white people. This is our solution.
You know, we really are being colonized. In a colony, the education is controlled from outside. The politics is controlled from outside. The economics is controlled from outside. The police in a colony are not there to serve and to protect, but there to keep the colonized ones from disturbing the status quo. The question is, do we want to continue to live as a colony, or do we want to be like the original 13 colonies and decide that we've had enough? Let's break from a colonial past and let's seek freedom.
Time for an Awakening is a proud part of the Black Talk Radio Network, the #1 independent black digital and podcasting platform.
Welcome back to Time for an Awakening. It's 8:19 on this Sunday edition of Time for an Awakening. We're in open forum. I guess got a little sidetracked. We'll try to reschedule it for a future broadcast. But we're in open forum, and you can join the conversation by dialing 215-490-9832, 215-490-9832. We're talking about the attack on black unity, black speech, our people coming together by any means necessary. It's an all-out assault on that, and it's kind of covert. You don't hear that much about it. But they don't want any organization among black folks that they can't dictate the parameters of. And if they do see some, they accuse you of being somebody's operative. Somebody's telling you to do this. Russian and whoever is instructing you. What they accused the South African of Iraq told them to do it. You remember it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that's a nation state, and it's being on the street. They would be saying and being punked, like you don't have no ability to be able to do that. Somebody got to be putting you up to that. But you heard how the ambassador came back, which was the same thing. I think that was Ted Koppel, right, and Nelson Mandela. And the same kind of questioning, right?
Yeah. You know, I had that clip. I'd have to find it. But I had that clip when he basically accused Mandela of the same thing. Because he was supporting Cuba, Palestine. And you remember that, Richard.
Yeah. You don't, and being respectfully, you don't have your enemies is your enemies. You can't dictate who is our enemies.
Well, okay. Who is our friends. That's what you say, Richard. That's what you say. But as far as they're concerned, you heard Minister Farrakhan say in that collage about being a colony and what happens in a colony.
That's the difficult part about this, Elliott.
What?
Because at least if we can accept from this political economic reality, from this dominance, that we as a people, black people in America specifically, I ain't talking about the rest of the world, let's not get into the identity, but how we are treated by the state, right? How we are treated by the state as if we are a subjugated colony.
Yeah, we are. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
Yeah, and what's more frightening, how the English did one nation state, and I'm thinking of Nigeria at one point, in the sense of having indirect rule. When we're talking about black representation, when we're talking about black people who are voted for by black people to represent them in a body that is racist in itself. There's a book came out a couple of years ago. We were exploring, Ellie, you and I were trying to get the person who was talking about the Congressional Black Caucus and that legislative caucus in that Congress, and how that whole structure has a racial component to it, which limits their ability. But when these representatives don't become advocates of the people who put them in there, then they become agents.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
For the people who are in there, which means that black people think these representatives represent them, and they don't. I want to make it plain, but I don't. Maybe I got to work through that, Ellie. I got to work, because people don't seem to get this here. Of how can you say that we're a colonized people, when we have rights? I'll leave that alone.
Oh, Richard, let me mention something too before we go to the callers. brother Marcellus Williams, the brother was executed in Missouri, I think it was.
Right.
A couple of days ago. But another guy was executed in South Carolina. Now I'm no attorney, and I wouldn't even pretend. But usually when you got a person on death row or whatever, or even just convicted of a crime, usually the defense will be saying, well, Richard didn't do it. Richard was innocent. I've never seen where the prosecution says this man should not be executed. The guy's the victim's family and the jury, and the man is still executed. And then another man in South Carolina, and his name escapes me, but our audience is intelligent. I know they've seen the article. He was executed in South Carolina when a person came forward a couple of days before the execution and said that they did it, admitted their guilt, and they still executed the man. You don't hear black representation saying anything because they've been instructed, don't say anything that's going to derail what's going on now as far as this dog and pony show between Trump and Trump and Harris. They don't say nothing about nothing. Let's go to a couple of these calls because they're piling up. Let me go to Toronto first. Toronto, 647. Toronto. Oh, they must have stepped away or something. Let's go to LaGrange. Let's go to Georgia.
Mm-hmm. Hey, gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
What you and Richard in there talking about, Elliott Booker? Look. Yeah. This brother Eric down here. I came on because I thought I was going to chop it up with Chris, but anyway, yeah, y'all are cooking okay. So I decided I'd jump in here, of course, and hopefully y'all can get Chris on here pretty soon. But to the point that you and Richard was just are on right now, this whole piece about, of course, our people that we put in position to represent us, and of course, and how, they're noticeably absent when we need them. Just like, I thank you for educating me about that South Carolina case. I didn't know about that, but I knew about Marcellus Williams in Missouri. But, there was a point in time when anything happened nationally or locally or regionally, that was of national significance to the black community, you could always count on your civil rights leaders doing a press conference and bringing comfort, bringing a sense of, hey, we hear you, to the people, but to the underlying point, all of our institutions and all of those people are dependent on. I mean, they're pretty much just now appendages of the Democratic Party. The NAACP, the Urban League, the Congressional Black Caucus. I mean, anybody black that we elect as a Democrat, it's obvious they're going to be Democrat first. And so they're not really representing our agenda. I mean, we legitimize them. They couldn't get in the position if it wasn't for us, right? So what that begs of us now, what are we going to do about it? And what I suggest that we do about it is two things. If we're going to still continue to be in these two parties, we got to bring our own candidates. Like, how can we always just wait for them to trot out candidates when we know that the candidates that they're going to put in front of us are somebody that they vetted, not necessarily that we vetted.
Yes.
And they already know that these people are going to is going to represent their interests first, whether it's mass immigration, LGBTQ, whatever the case may be. Israel, they're going to represent their interests first. And so we got to either tell them, look, we'll do like Chicago did back in the Harold Washington days. They went out and got Harold Washington from amongst themselves and say, this is who we want as our mayor because we know him. He's a part of us. There's nobody know no Barack Obama, no Kamala Harris, or none of these Trojan horse people. When the Democratic Party putting them out in front of us, they know how to color them up, and they got to make Kamala Harris black in order for her to get any traction. It's pitiful and it's shameful and it's downright embarrassing and disrespectful how they're trying to just make her black and just trying to shove her down our political throats. But the other option is we got to seriously start thinking about these third parties. Now,
yes,
I think I finally decided what I'm going to do this election. If I'm going to be about what I say I'm about, I've got no choice but to vote for Jill Stein because obviously, as it stands right now, I never vote for another Democrat a day in my life unless they do something to change that. Because our vote is for sale, and of course, and we're people. We are interest-based people now. We got to get a lot of our people are slow coming along. They're still on the party brand and the feel good, and I like them. They can be marketed to, like put a family like Michelle and Barack Obama and their kids, and get there. But they can be marketed to like that. But we got as we mature, we won't be marketed to. We'll be about interest. And if we're about interest, then that third party, that Jill Stein and Bush Ware. Now I don't know. I've got to do more research on that. I think they're deliberately staying away from what their position is on immigration, but I know what their position is on the other things that matter to me: reparations, protections from police, and of course the war. The human rights abuses, the genocide in Gaza, those things. So so we've got to really because just think now, if we had kept the momentum going since Ross Perot was the most viable third-party candidate I've seen in my lifetime. He probably would have won that thing had the powers not got to him and made him drop out and lose momentum. But if we had continued to push and gradually take our numbers and our political influence to a third party, the third party would have no choice. But I mean, they would be viable now. We would probably have three-party politics instead of two, and we have another option, so we won't have to choose between the lesser two evils, or it may be the lesser three evils, but at least we'll have another lesser evil to choose from at worst, and probably a better solution at best. So I just wanted to stop by and share that because you all were on a point that was resonating with me. And I just wanted to, appreciate you for the podcast, and hope we get Chris on one day soon.
Hey, listen, before you go, Brother Eric, check out, because you might not be familiar, and then you might, Cornel West's platform, and see if you weigh it next to Stein or whoever, which one is more in your favor. And plus, if you talk to some of the activists out there in California, which I know that you're probably in touch with, Chris and Sister Kansa Jones Muhammad, see what they think about the vice presidential running mate, Sister Melina Abdullah, and then you might change your mind.
No, she's me and her. She goes to the church I'll go to, so we don't. So I don't really rock with her like that because y'all still go to the Dashiki church, but I like Brother Cornell though, but nonetheless,
what was that?
It's hard for me to rock. I rock with Brother West. Brother West supports our lineage-based reparations movement. But Brother West, sometimes for me, you got to live what you preach. You got to live the song that you sing about, and. A man that done have 4 wives and they knew none of them. I can't rock with that.
Okay,
so,
the man got 4 wives. Okay, all
go
right.
ahead.
All right. Hey, man, listen. Get back to me. I wanted to see how the West Georgia Cooperative is doing, and you don't do the thing no more, so people don't know what's going on.
We doing it down here. It's everything. Hey, all economics is local. Like politics, all economics is local. All cooperative economics is local.
Well, we'll talk.
But yeah, let's talk.
All right.
Okay.
Talk to you. Peace. Let's go back to Toronto. Maybe you're there. Toronto. Canada. Hey, brother fell asleep or something there. Let's go to New York City. New York.
Hey, what's going on? It's Brother Maurice.
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, I'll try to be quick, but sometimes, there's so much stuff going on. I want to touch base on a few different things. You know, in 1924, J. Edgar Hoover was appointed, the FBI director, and he was in charge for 48 years. The reason why I'm bringing up that particular point is I was just remembering, and I told you before how I started connecting the dots of all this communism and things of that nature, because he was always looking out for trying to find communism. And it brought me back to that movie about Ernest Weathers, the picture taker.
Okay.
And within that information, it was talking about how they were looking to stop that rise of a Messiah, but they also kept talking about the influence of communism. Remember, they even had a poster of Dr. King in communism school and things of that nature. And what it really speaks to the issue is there's a third Red Scare going on in the United States. The second Red Scare was underneath McCarthyism. That went from the 1940s to 50s, and the definition of that basically is this. The Red Scare was the political repression and persecution of people that considered themselves to be left-wing, and they were saying you were campaigning to spread communism in the United States. But this is, you did say it correctly, this is a covert suppression of these individuals that think differently than what is quote unquote the status quo. So a lot of people are asleep on it. I'm so glad, Brother Elliott, that you and Brother Richard are talking about this particular issue. As again, sometimes we get caught up in stuff that's not that important. You run around and worry about what Diddy is doing. You run around and worried about who was at this award show and that award show, and then you're talking about political and we already got economic censorship, but now your political and censorship is coming along, and they're attacking those things because they know also that the battle for Africa is important because that's where the majority of natural resources are. They know already in the Sahel region they're getting kicked out all over they've been kicked out. So they're trying to change the narrative. I'm watching what's going on with Bill Gates. He's starting this particular program down there talking about we're going to provide all of these nutritional supplements for black children in that particular continent. I'm telling people we need to be watching that. We need to be watching this whole new program. He's talking about providing minerals or whatever to help kids grow up and not die young, because they know that the future of the world, the majority of the population is going to be in Africa. So it's going to be interesting to see where that goes. But I do want to touch base on something else that again, the 21-year-old brother with a truck driver, Javon McGee, that went down to North Carolina, and they said that they found him with a rope wrapped around his neck 11 times.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I was addressing it on my show, one of the guests was saying that, they state that all of this stuff looked like it's suicide. And I said, hold a second. Let's slow down a second. Let's slow down a second before we start pronouncing stuff as suicides. Because y'all did that before. You actually, Brother Elliott, mentioned on your show, because there was two people. There was a Malcolm, Harwich or something like that. A black man who was found, and then another black brother, Robert Fuller. One was, I think the other one was 38, the other one was 43. This is back in, I think it was in 2020. And they found them hanging from a tree. And the first thing they came up with, out in California, the first thing they came up with was some nonsense about they killed themselves. They committed suicide. And I keep telling people to stop being so quick to come up with that type of explanations, because it makes other people feel good about what happened. Because, these men just all of a sudden decided to kill themselves. And it happened less than 2 weeks behind each other. And the families were complaining about it, wanting to get, the information out there to get so I said, in this situation with McGee down in North Carolina, let's take some time before we pronounce something one way. Don't believe all of the information that people put out. Guess what? They've been known to lie. They've been known to put out misinformation. So when we see these situations going on where young black men are killing themselves, let's always take a second look at that to find out. And I don't care if it's a black face that told you that's the case. I want to see the information and evidence. But again, I want to get off because I want to hear, Brother Joe and the rest of the intelligent people that call into the show. Even the unintelligent people that call into the show, I still want to hear what they have to say. But I would say to you that when we're looking at this situation, this is the third Red Scare in America. There were two of them before this. This is not anything new. And this is the philosophy for the government and the same talking points. If you go back and you read anything that Hoover wrote, the documents, everything that they're saying, and they said it when he first got off in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, same playbook. Same playbook. So I'm going to get off and shut up and listen to the rest of the program. But
thank you for your contribution as always, brother.
Okay, now, peace, my brother.
Right. Let's go back to one more time. Toronto, are you there? Toronto.
Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
What's going on with your phone?
As Vladimir Lenin once said, only Allah knows.
Okay. Okay, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Oh, I wanted to say that, Omali Ishitella, when he, the whole question about Omali Ishitella being a agent of the Russians, the Soviet Union, Russia was, before it was Russia, it was the Soviet Union until 1991. And if I remember, Omali Ishitella, when I was growing up, maybe we'll put it this way, when I was growing up, we hated the Soviet Union more than we hated the Ku Klux Klan before we got any sense. Because you remember we used to have to get under the tables because they were supposed to be dropping a bomb on us in school and all that kind of stuff. They did that. I went to school in California. I don't know if you guys did it on the East Coast, but it's been my understanding that people did it all over. But we, at that time, Omali Ishitella was pro-China, and we were didn't relate to the Soviet Union. And then, many of us started reading and listening to people like Walter Rodney, and we looked at how the Vietnamese people and how the other people in Africa were looking at the struggle, and we took a non-allied position, not necessarily non-allied between the West and the East, but non-allied in the Soviet camp, meaning, that as African people, we can take support from Soviet Union, from the Chinese, from the Hungarians, from the whole Eastern Europe situation, Cuba, and this whole question about Omali Ishitella being an agent of Russia is really absurd. And even if he was or is, don't we have a right to determine who are our friends and who are our enemies?
Well, I thought you did. You're supposed to have freedom.
Freedom of speech, right?
Yeah.
But see,
well, I think,
Go ahead. Excuse me.
Go ahead.
No, the point is, you can't have a speech that is a unifying speech. You can have freedom of speech, each one of us speaking individually as far as how we self-identify, how we, what political ideal or values or religious ideas as individuals. But when you start having speech that recognize you as a people in America, black folks specifically, that's where the danger is.
Okay.
Well, I wanted to say one other thing. What they got us all as African. I know we want to keep this to the U.S., but I want to kind of talk about, on the African continent, we have 53, 54, maybe 55 countries. And instead of us going there speaking as one voice, or even if you had East Africa, South Africa, North Africa, and East or West, East, North, and South, four voices, or we should be speaking with one voice. We're going to have like the Cameroon might say, we love chocolate ice cream, and the people from the Sudan would say, well, we don't like ice cream, period. And, we need some kind of unity. That's all I'm saying. And we have to come together as a people as much as we can. That's all I wanted to say.
True.
Thanks for your contribution.
You're welcome. Take care.
All right. Let's go to Atlanta. Atlanta?
Yes. Good evening.
How are you?
I'm blessed. I'm enjoying your program. It's insightful. You know, and I'm sending out tribute to the brother that got lynched in Missouri. You know, the governor went with it, and the Supreme Court, 6 of them went with it, even though there were some people that were opposing it. And it should have been a lot more, like you said. But I know that the 3 people on the Supreme Court, the sister that's on the court, Tijani, I can't remember her name, but the sister and the other 2 Supreme Court people, they voted against him being lynched. And others were, they had others that were opposing it too, like Al Sharpton talked about it on his show, even though he should have been stronger about it. And Roland Martin talked about it on his show, and Joy Reid did, and some other people on MSNBC. And all over the internet, they were, you know, having an outcry about them lynching this innocent African. You know, they talked about what a good guy, you know, he was an imam, they said. And you know, just echoing what you said about they had no evidence to murder him like that. You know, just like what you were saying, like no evidence, no DNA. They messed up no DNA on the weapon, on the knife or the gun. So, you know, I'm just saying that that's really outraging. You know, I'm agreeing with you all saying that we need to be protesting even louder about it and fighting against it. I just wanted to agree with that, and I'm just really appalled and saddened by the whole lynching and murder of this.
Well, let me say this before I let you go, because you mentioned Sharpton and Martin and Reed, but I noticed you didn't mention any elected officials.
I'm trying to see what elected official was it. What's the elected official? What is that? You're right.
Okay.
I mean,
okay, because they're supposed to represent us on the front line of this battle. But the
NAACP, but they're not elected officials either.
They're not elected officials. The elected officials didn't say anything. None of them.
That's appalling. That's appalling. And assault on. Hello.
Yeah. Okay. I got you.
Yeah. Just this assault. I'm concerned about this, trying to start this World War III. You know, like they said, they are sending troops on the ground, and you know, United States is just so complicit with it. And this thing with Hezbollah, and the media is complicit. Like the media said, that Israel killed the terrorist Hezbollah. Okay, now they're terrorists, but the real terrorist is Netanyahu. But he's not referred to in that way. He's a warmonger, and I was really disappointed in Harris because her position was this is a good thing that Netanyahu did. He made a safer for all of Israel and the world to kill this terrorist. Did you hear her? Did you know her to say something like that?
Yeah, I did. I think her and Biden said that it was, spoke favorably of it.
Yeah, and so it's just like they punking out, just like the terms they said, complicit in this, fascism like this. And I'm concerned because it does affect us because I don't want my children. They're trying to send our children over there to get killed and murdered, dying over there behind this warmonger thing, and it's a very serious thing. And I feel we need to be protecting our children, telling our children, do not go over there to be getting killed with this onslaught. I mean, it puts us in jeopardy. Plus, who knows, United States may be getting bombs sent over this way, hitting the land here. But, I think that we got to oppose that and not have our children going over there fighting like that. And they, we're the first ones on the front line to be getting murdered like this, put up there. What do you think about that?
Oh, yes, I'd agree. I agree.
And I think that one of the reasons you was talking about Harris, I mean, I was disappointed in her talking like that, and I think one of the reasons she's not polling high is because, she's still directly or indirectly supporting this genocide that they're doing. She's siding with, Israel got the right to defend themselves or protect themselves, and they'll do anything that they want. And that's not sitting well with a lot of the young people and other people. It's like she's just being complicit in all of this genocide.
Thanks for your contribution, sister.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Let's go to Philadelphia. Theodore. Philadelphia.
Hey, peace and blessings. Oh, my government name, huh? I go by Ikemba.
Okay.
Appreciate the opportunity. I wasn't expecting that. You threw me off. But appreciate y'all having this discussion. I'm also a member of the Huru movement. I had spent time in the ranks of the African People's Socialist Party. Right now, I'm a member of the mass organization NPM, International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, and I've been organizing with the movement for maybe over 15 years. I think going back to like 2005. And so, the work that we have been doing around reparations, we've been doing that for a long time, and nobody has said a peep. Even before my involvement in the movement, you can go back to 1982, and the African People's Socialist Party had a tribunal for reparations in Brooklyn, New York, and this was before some of the founding members of NCOBRA came out of that tribunal, and later on there will be a bill to study reparations that will come in, I think, with the early 1990s. But the point is that, the party has been doing work around reparations for a very long time. So, it's very interesting that now all of a sudden there's this Russian influence on the party to talk about reparations or make a demand for reparations when this was already taking place for decades. So I just, wanted to raise that. And I think y'all have raised a lot of great points. And, if we look at the context right now with Ukraine and Russia, a conflict that's been going on that began in 2014, and then you have the invasion, a couple of years ago, I think 2022, Russia invades Ukraine. So, a lot of this is happening in that context as well, where, Russia and the U.S., I mean, they're on the brink of directly being in a direct conflict, if you're keeping up with what's happening in the news. Mm-hmm. And so, again, y'all had laid out this history of just African, or Black resistance to colonialism or even slavery. The colonizer or the enslaver, they always point to it's some outside agitation. This is the reason why Black people are up in arms and resisting against the system, because of these outside agitators. And I say, you can go back to slavery because, during slavery, it was always the North, right? Northern whites and, or there's liberals, these liberals during the early 20th century. You would see, again, the Red Scare, with Russia, but also, even the tactics, which we have to be very conscious of, the tactics that is used by the state, because even in the early, around 1918, 1919, where you had World War I, and then, the Red Summer around that time, you had the Military Intelligence Division, right, which will later become the CIA. They were used, and Joe Springard, who was a part of the Military Intelligence Division, he was used, also was the president of the NAACP, to go into the Black community and to promote a moderate a moderate struggle, I guess a moderate struggle for rights, and sort of sway people away from the more radical element of the Black community. And so these tricks are still used, even today. And I guess like the last, point, last thing I want to, point out is, I guess that was it. That was really points. I just appreciate the discussion. And rest in peace to Sonia Massey as well, because that's another, struggle. I want to keep uplifting her name, and to Miss Nina for also opening the space so I, was able to listen in and hear what you guys were discussing. So appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for your contribution, brother.
Brother Kim is listening in from the clubhouse with Sister Nina and others who are there, and on this, the Negro Womp, and another thing, the Lost Files. Appreciate that. Appreciate those who are listening in Clubhouse to get this message out, or at least be in this dialogue.
Richard, I appreciate the brother putting a little historical context too. Europeans always thinking that somebody has to influence other blacks. He mentioned a couple. He pointed out a couple. I'm gonna add a couple to what he stated. If you remember, Richard, when Haiti freed themselves, the enslavers here didn't want blacks to be influenced by the liberation struggle in Haiti.
Right.
Like our people here didn't want to be free. So they figured that they would be influenced by other blacks and what they were doing. Bull Connor, when King went over to Montgomery or Birmingham, well, I forgot where that old racist bigot was. He was saying, our Negroes here, they don't need to be influenced. They doing all right. You remember he had the same type of outlook. They didn't want other blacks influenced. Listen, this stuff is generational. I don't care whether you're talking about 1801 or 1811 when I forgot the exact date when Haiti freed themselves, or 1920 or 2024. They always think that blacks got to be influenced by somebody else. Because they always exacting some type of influence. And the sad thing about it is some of these, and especially these black elected officials, they ready to be influenced. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
The thing is, Elliott, that I think we should, and as we're centering this, realize that this comes out, whether it's somebody else, Haiti is influencing American Africans, or whether even if, Brother Kimmer brought up about, the South in the 19th century. At one point they said the Negro running away was because he had some kind of disease, right? I mean, this is no joke, right? But the thing that as we stay centered in this present about the language is important, and shutting down and distracting, because they're saying black folks, once again, is talking to black folks domestically and internationally, and we're listening to each other. And that's a threat.
Yes.
That's not who they saying is influencing, is that black folks are speaking about their condition and saying they don't like it. And because they don't like it, they need to do something about it, as Brother Eric said, whether it's considering a third party, whether it's considering a ethnogenesis name identifier, whether it's having discussion about what is Pan-Africanism in the 21st century. Black folks, when the continent especially has all those young people who are in motion, we see it in West Africa, that they are recognizing one thing is clear: they ain't down with these white folks and the power dynamics they have over them. So let's divert them to more white folks who is influencing them more than letting them realize that they, as you said, they have power just in their voice. Just in their voice. We just talking. And then voice and talking, that's the primary basis of organizing. Politically organizing, political education, political strategy, and it's centered in black folks, not anybody else. So I think that's important for us not to get distracted of who they saying we're distracted by, more than realizing that we are having power in this moment once again, because we're speaking about our condition and how we feel about it in a grand, I call it mature, grand strategy, a geopolitical, even if we're talking about it from a cooperative, local perspective.
Let's go to Newport News. Newport News.
Did you unmute me? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hey, look, I'm going to try to hit a couple things quick. Number one, unity is not conformity. And I say that in broad terms to me. If you're going to fight for reparations, there's a couple things that need to be done. And I'm saying this as an observer for the last 15 years. Most I've been on the internet. But I told you my introduction to it goes back to Dallas, Texas, when Cobra first started. And I've been trying to educate myself. I'm not an expert. But I say to you again, unity is not conformity. And I've learned listening in these X spaces and everywhere that people want everything to be through their lens. I. What I like about your platform is you preach this thing. It's about the collective. And when you look at the collective, you cannot keep saying reparations is anything you want it to be. To achieve any goal, you have to define what it is. And when I say what it is, along with the other things that need to be done to make it effective. You had a guest that was coming on. I've been very vocal about this across every platform, including, hopefully, Monday morning on Tavis Smiley. You cannot call these racial equity initiatives that have sprung up reparations. You can say that this civic engagement that is really better than anything I've seen nationally in my 71 years. What they have learned on how to attack things, stop firing at each other, take what you've done from New York to California in something that was sabotage, learn from it, and start pushing for national reparations. There's some really smart people out here, but you misguided putting all of your attention on just the immigration. This is a multi-front battle, and I'll say it this way because I'm country as hell. You cannot protect your house by just peeping out of the bathroom window. There's other fronts to be tackled. Have a good day, gentlemen.
Thank you for that.
Wait. Do it have to be the bathroom?
Oh, boy.
Come on, man. You already know in most of our houses, you're lucky if you got a window in the bathroom. It's usually an exhaust fan. Get real. I got a little wannabe comedian in me, too. Much love to you, brother. Keep doing it.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's go to Richard. How you doing? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, let's go to Philadelphia again. Norris.
Greetings. How are you?
Great.
Yeah, this is like the other caller said. This is Brother Wassett, my African name.
Okay, Brother Wassett, how are you, sir?
Good. Always listen. This is the first time that I called in. First of all, one of the things that I wanted to say is I want to thank you for addressing the I don't even know why I can't pronounce his name.
Omali
Yeshiteli, that whole situation, because, you listen to a lot of other Black talk radio and they don't say anything about it. It almost seems as though if it wasn't for the topic of Kamala Harris and Trump, they wouldn't have anything to talk about. And we need to understand how pivotal and how pivotal that case was.
Yes.
Because you're talking about freedom of speech. And we really, and this is my opinion, but we really need to understand, what's going on and what has always been going on. And that is the government basically trying to silence the voices of those individuals who are talking about the liberation and freedom for African people. And I think Omali Yeshitela has probably been one of the most consistent ones. The other thing that we also need to understand is the way that this government functions. They don't have to have any evidence on you. All they have to do is use the might of the government to come after you and then throw as much as they can against the wall. And if something sticks, then basically what ends up happening is that you will end up going down, so they don't have to have anything. And so I think we also have to understand, as Africans in America, there is no democracy. This is not a democracy. Malcolm X told us a long time ago, and one of the things that Malcolm also told us is that you're not American. We might be classified as American citizens. However, you do not have the rights and privileges of that Americans have. Because if we did, why would we have to fight so hard for our freedom when white folks never had to fight? They don't have to do any of the things that we have. We're constantly being murdered. We're constantly being killed. We're constantly, having to address all of these things, constantly fighting. And I don't know if sometimes if you have a chance to sit down, but can you imagine living in America and then just freely going about your business? You can work, you can buy a home, you can go places, and you never have to worry about racism. You never have to worry about that type of anxiety. You never have to worry about whether you're going to be discriminated or whether your neighborhood is going to be gentrified. You don't have to worry about your children being miseducated in the school. The reason why I'm bringing that up is because as African people here in this country, we have to deal with that all the time. It's an ongoing process, and you got to understand that type of thing will weigh on you. So I'm clear about how we exist in this country. And so one of the things that they're trying to do is they're trying to make sure that they silence those voices. I mean, it's absurd to say that somebody like Omali Yeshitela is conspiring with Russians when this has been his work over the last 40 or 50 years. All you have to do is think about Paul Robeson. Mm-hmm. So if you were to think about Paul Robeson, and if you understand what he went through when they tried to basically say that he was working with the Russians, then it becomes crystal clear that what they try to do is they try to basically paint you. And luckily for him, if anybody saw the press conference, the good thing is that he had a very good legal team. And because his legal team was able to refute, much of the nonsense they were trying to throw at him, they didn't even have a case. And think about this. Can you imagine having these type of charges against you and having an all-white jury? He had an all-white jury and then was able to get a not guilty verdict. So that just goes to show you the substance, of his defense, that what they had did not make any sense, and so, and the last thing I would like to say in closing, because we keep talking, somebody was talking about Kamala Harris, and one of the reasons why a lot of people are not voting for her is because of what's going on, in Gaza. But let's be clear, it's a lot more than that. There are those of us who have eyes and we see. And not only do we see, yeah, okay, Mama. And not only do we see, we can see right through her. Here's the person that was the vice president for 3.5 years, and you didn't have any dialogue, any conversation. You didn't have anything to say about black people. Now, all of a sudden, you want to go to our churches. You want to talk about you cooking collard greens in the bathtub and all this other nonsense or whatever. Now you want to pander to black people because you know very clearly that you're not going to be able to win without us. Additionally, and I'll say this in closing, if you're listening to Kamala Harris, she's not intelligent. If she's talking from a script, she sounds intelligent. But when she goes off script, you're listening to her, she's not making any sense at all. And this whole ideal, because, see, they always like to push these false narratives. And one of the false narratives that they're trying to push is that black men don't want to vote for a woman, and they're trying to make it seem like we're anti-female. It has nothing to do with it. I would love nothing better than to see a qualified, talented black woman run for president, because I think that they would probably make a better president than a white male. However, Kamala is not it, and she does not speak to the issues of black people. Anytime that you can meet, over the weekend, she met with the president of Ukraine to pledge billions of dollars of support for that country. Now, and that's the billions of dollars on top of what they've already been giving them, and that's also the billions of dollars that they give to Israel. So hold up. So now I'm supposed to vote for a so-called black woman that's pledging billions of dollars to Ukraine, to people who are not American citizens. But I'm a black man, and I'm American, and I'm American citizen. But whenever we talk about whatever pledge you can make to black people, you always have to talk in this broad category. Well, I'm going to try to create policy where everybody can benefit. I would be a fool to vote for somebody who cannot, pledge their allegiance to me. I appreciate the show. Brothers, keep up the good work. And you can put me back on mute. On hold. I'll be listening.
Thanks for your contribution, brother. Don't be a stranger.
Absolutely. Peace and blessings.
All right. Richard, you all right?
Yes.
Let's go to Philadelphia again. Philly. With the lady, Iron Lady. Uh-oh. Let's put them back on hold. Let's go to Philly again. Philly, you're there. Uh-oh. Wait a minute. The audio look like it's Brother Joe. I don't know what happened.
But, Elliot, I just wanted to make a point, if I can. And I think all the callers have touched something very important, and you bringing up, the topic about, Chairman Yesateli and the whole thing of free speech, which I think is critical. But what comes up is that, and it's something that came up out of our discussion, that right now we are probably in the most powerful moment again in the last 50 years, right? If we use reparations as the touch point, and it's even with all the distraction, because you read somebody who's a part of the State Department. You read somebody, a think tank that is a part of the most centered, conservative, white political, ideological structure in America. And all of them are saying that black folks, not just speaking in their own interests, and the chairman's case shows that, even if you're speaking about an issue that's yours, but even organizing around your cultural unity domestically. And when I say cultural unity, I'm talking about your beliefs. We can say, we can call it World War III, but black people are saying, in spite of that, what's going on over there, that ain't right, right? But black people are saying, what's going on in the Sahel with Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali, that's right. They are organizing, and those states are coming together, and that the young people are working to make that happen. That they're saying that in you asking for repair, that's right. That's right. You asking for repair, whether it's hopefully, as the brother said, that it isn't just racial equity considered as reparations, but you're recognizing that the condition that you're in was caused not by yourself. And you demand restitution and repair. I don't care about the apology part, but those things, to be made whole and to be compensated. I think that's what we should recognize is what's happening out of the state right now.
Let's go to New York City. New York.
Hey, listen, I'm going to do something that I haven't done in a while. I'm going to say nothing and wish y'all a beautiful night because it's extremely clear from listening to y'all brothers and sadly to most of the people who are calling up on this informational show. We really simply don't understand that this is a two-party system. No third party is going to do anything in regards to moving black people forward in this country. You only have two choices. You have Harris or you have Trump. One of the two is going to get into office. And sadly to say, we as a collective people are not organized, don't have institutions, don't have anything in place, control nothing in the country to make any sort of demands. But we want to make it seem as though we in a position to dictate how we should be treated by our oppressor, who has murdered, raped, brutalized, and whenever they decide to do anything to us, they can do it, and we're in no position to stop them. But then we want to romanticize about asking them to give us reparations. Can you make them give us reparations? No. Are you in any position to make them give you reparations? No. Are you organized and have
let me ask you a question. You're not going to overtalk me. Let me ask you a question before I let you go, because you said that you didn't want to have nothing to say on this issue. Let me ask you a question. You saw the state that, well, I guess you can read. I want you to go to the State Department and look at Bilkin's speech and what he said about shutting down these sites that promote Pan-Africanism. You can see the case against O'Malley and what they said in court, the United States, what they said in court. So when you see all these things and then you hear the strange silence of black elected officials nationwide to mention anything about reparations, if you can't put those pieces together, then you don't know. You need to go back and do some studying. And I'm gonna leave it like that. No. I'm gonna leave it like that for you. I'm gonna leave it like that. No. I'm gonna leave it like that.
I was gonna answer.
No, you don't have to answer. You're done. Let's go to Philadelphia. Hold on a second. No, I got it. Let's go to Philadelphia.
Hey, good evening, Brother Elliott. Good evening, Brother Richard. How y'all brothers doing tonight?
Yes, sir.
Praise be to Allah. See, I always look at it from the standpoint is that if we, as black people, if that's our view that we are powerless people and everything, and that we always going to be at the bottom of the rung, whatever the case may be, then that, to me, that's a sad commentary. And as far as it's been in the position to make demands, see, I don't, like I said, Brother Elliott and Richard, in the time for the Wicked Listener audience, I don't blame that on black people. I blame that on our black misleadership. They got us in this position. I mean, it's not, to me, you don't have to even reinvent the wheel. All you got to do is look and see what's going on. When you have black leadership that acquiesce to the Democrat Party or the Republican Party, the same bird with so-called different wings, but the same bird, left wing, right wing. My point is that when you have, think about this, when you have so-called black misleadership, as Glenn Ford and Bruce Dixon said, that will sit there and tell people that, like, let me use we know about the two clowns up in New York, Jeffries and Meeks, but let me use Raphael Warnock, for example. And I hope the call from New York is listening, because this is a prime example of why you can't put this on black people. You got to put this on your black misleadership. He was elected to be the senator for the state of Georgia, down and stuff, Raphael Warnock. And like I told you before, Brother Elliott, to me that's a personal thing, because when I say personal, a good sister who I used to work with at the hospital for almost 20 years, after she retired from the hospital, from the hospital system, her daughter had been living in Georgia for the last 30-something years. So she said, Mom, stop, that big house you got up there in New Jersey, sell that house. So she put the house on the market, she moved down there to Georgia with her daughter. I think they down in, what's that part of Georgia? It's called Alpharetta, Georgia, something like that. That's where they live at. And she, she's had to change churches because she can't be in two places at one time, so she joined her daughter's church down in Georgia. And at the time when Warnock was running for senator, like most black people, and you see this all over, you see this model all over the country where black people with good intentions, like you saw up in Philadelphia when Wilson Goode became the first black mayor, the so-called grassroots community, where they don't have the millions of dollars to give these people, but they give what they can give. So they had chicken dinners, fish dinners, and we raised hundreds of thousands of dollars, like they did for Wilson Goode, and they did the same for Warnock down in Georgia and stuff. And he was able to get elected when he ran against that old racist white woman. I think that old bigot that I think he beat down there. Well, anyway, what did this Negro? How do we thank the black community when he gets elected? He don't get up there and say, wow, I want to thank my people for giving the free pennies that they had. They had chicken dinners, fish dinners, whatever. They took their pennies and nickels together and they donated to my coffers. So I'm gonna reach out to the black community when I'm gonna try to build coalitions with all kinds of legislation to move black people forward. Not did Warfield Warnock say that? And this is the same man that occupies the pulpit with Dr. King spoke for many years. And right outside, like you say, his church is about poor people living in homeless shelters or living out in the street. What did this Negro say instead of addressing the needs of black people? Warnock got right up there. And I think, again, people need to listen to these Negroes. He got up there instead of saying he's going to deal for black people, I'm going to be the best Jewish senator for the state of Israel. And I'm like saying, are you kidding me? When there weren't no damn white Jews that voted for your black ass down in Georgia, it was black people. But this is the kind of mindset you're dealing with. So you can't sit there and say that it's black people that we ain't know. If we're not in the position, it's because of your black misleadership. They're the ones that keep doing this to our people, man. You see this time and time again and stuff. Here in Philadelphia, you got a first black mayor and black people. Now, she didn't get the large sum of black people. She got enough votes, I guess, to become mayor. What does she do? She teamed up now with some white Jews for a stadium, for a basketball arena downtown, which we know it and stuff is not going to benefit black people one iota and stuff like that, because you keep her in the same scenario over and over again, and we keep falling for not us, Elliott and Richard, but I'm saying it's the gameplay that they use, the same playbook. Well, if you just give us a chance, this is these white Jewish owners say, give us a chance that if you just let us build it, you will have all these black businesses inside the stadium, and we're gonna have all these black people help build a sports arena. I mean, are you kidding me? I mean, you heard the same thing for the football team, the baseball team. You heard about the casinos. I remember back when the casinos was first built here in Atlantic City back in the early 80s, late 70s, whatever the case may be. That's all I kept hearing. I remember like it was yesterday. Oh, if you just give us a chance, because Trump had the casinos down there, Merv Griffin, Steve Wynn, already said big shots. Oh, just give us a chance. The poor black community can be uplifted, like you say, the trickle down economics, whatever. So the ghettos that border Atlantic City, once these casinos start getting booming, they're gonna lift them up. They're gonna turn into suburbs and stuff like that. Well, I sadly to say, 40, 50-something years later, damn near, you go, like I said, some of black communities off Atlantic City, like a bomb went off. The black community down Atlantic City didn't benefit for one iota, and Trump didn't have casinos down there no more. Steve went, all of them came and gone, but the casinos that you do have down there, again, just like they had the original ones, the black community look like a hellhole off Atlantic City. You go off that strip. So this notion about it's going to help black people is always a crock. So again, you can't blame that on black people, regular black people that's out here struggling, that's trying to make ends meet. Again, that's your black misleadership, man. That's your black Let's keep doing this to our people, man. Yeah, our people ain't stupid. We want to see our people move forward. Like I said, if we're not in a so-called position, it sure as hell ain't my fault. It's damn sure these black Negroes that you keep putting in office on the city, state, and federal level, they keep doing it to our people, man. I mean, call a spade a spade. If you're an umpire in baseball, your job is to call it the way you say it, call balls and strikes. So don't sit there and say it's by us. It's them. You know, your black misleadership. Glenn Ford and Bruce Dixon make it clear in that commentary. It's your black misleadership, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is clear. That's clear as the nose on your face where the problem lies.
Exactly. I mean, think about this, brother. Again, regular black folks, nobody rich, no out here, these working class black people can sit there and raise money for your black ass to become a senator, and the first thing out of your mouth, I'm going to be the best Jewish senator for the state of Israel. Are you kidding me? Them racist, murdering bastards over there killing people in Yemen. And I mean, think about the context of Elliott. And I close with a couple comments I want to take up. I know you and Richard want to kind of tidy things up. Here you got a murderous regime that's funded by the United States. The people are not stupid because they've issuing statements. Muslims around it, the so-called Muslim world, issuing all kind of statements about the United States complicity with every bomb being dropped over there, killing women and children and stuff. Bombs being dropped in Yemen and Lebanon and Gaza. In Iran, I mean, Syria, you're killing innocent people over there, and United States complicit in that. But I'm not going to let the Muslim community off the hook because I'm going to quote the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan back after Savior's Day. We had the holy month of Ramadan. Every Muslim, if they're physically able to participate in it, if they can. He chastised them. He said, y'all are disgrace. And I'm going to quote the minister verbatim. You're sitting back letting Israel, he said, you got Egypt and all them, Jordan and stuff. You're sitting back wanting to let your Palestinian brothers and sisters in and stuff. You sit there at the mercy of Israel. You want to let them in into your country. You're supposed to be Muslim. You always talking about the Quran, the Sunnah, the Hadith, and your sorry black ass not sitting back there not doing nothing to aid your Palestinian brothers and sisters. And number two, the ministers say some of these Muslim countries like Saudi Arabia and some of the rest of them got weapons. They got all kinds of stuff, and you sitting back letting Israel just slaughter your people, man. They are a disgrace. I mean, like I said, what kind of coward are you sitting back and you keep talking to Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, and you letting these racist white Zionist Jews just murder your people. They dropping bombs in all these here countries, and all the people that's there, when they fight back, these people don't have the weaponry, but they do the best they could. But here your governments in Egypt and Saudi Arabia got plenty of money, plenty of weapons, and you letting these Zionists just do all they can. But it's a whole saying, Brother Elder Richard. You sitting back letting it happen to the Palestinians today because you expile this cowardly Muslim nation, but you keep letting Israel run roughshod, it'll be your ass tomorrow. Like the old saying go, when it came for me, I didn't do anything. When it came for the other brother, I got you know what I'm talking about, going this, Elliot. I didn't do anything, but finally it came for me, but it wasn't nobody here to save me. You know what I'm saying, Elliot? So these Muslim countries can sit back here and keep letting Israel run roughshod. It's just a matter of time for these racist, Zionist Jew bastards go after their asses in these Muslim countries like Saudi Arabia and Egypt. Because once you start getting power and hungry and murderous, you don't stop. You keep doing. You figure, hey, I'm the big bully on the block, so if I can go in this country and kill up their people, it's a matter of time. I must go ahead and do it to Egypt, do it to Saudi Arabia. So for those Saudis and Egyptians that sitting back, Jordanians thinking that Israel's not going to come after their behind because they spies and cowardly, it's just a matter of time, my brother. Remember, we heard it from Brother Joe first. Just a matter of time. When you don't do anything and stand up, it's just a matter of time before these Zionists come after your behind. So thank you, Brother Ellen Richard.
Hey, listen, before you go, let me, in fact, stay with me. I want to mention something to you before you go. We're going to take a brief break, and when we come back,
sure, Elliot.
I'll bring you back on.
Okay.
Take a brief break. We'll be right back.
Awakening. Time for an Awakening. With host Brother Elliott and Brother Richard on Time for an Awakening Media, part of the Black Talk Radio Network. For podcasting or live program scheduling, hit them up at timeforanawakening@gmail.com.
All Insurance Incorporated, an African-American owned and operated insurance agency and business for over 20 years, located at 231 Southeastern Road in Glenside, PA, with other offices in Germantown and West Philadelphia. Call now for commercial insurance quotes, homeowners insurance quotes, automobile insurance quotes, notary and tax services, representing over 15 major A-rated insurance companies, offering a discount on all notary services when you call in for a free quote. Call this number, 215-885-2444. That number is 215-885-2444. 215-885-2444. All Insurance Incorporated.
RG Electrical Inspections provides electrical inspections for realtors, licensed electricians, and homeowners. Licensed and insured underwriter, serving Philadelphia and surrounding area. Call today, 484-268-9837.
Escape the digital plantation. abibitumi.com, abibitumi.tv, abibitumitv.com, abibitumi.store are here for you. You are ready to be free of non-African social media. Don't run from danger, run to safety. abibitumi.com is here for you. You are ready to be free of digital plantations to control your own products. abibitumi.store is here for you. ABIBITUMI, Black Power, ABIBITUMI. The only word you need to know to join your global Kemetiu Black family, to join your interconnected Kemetiu Black communities. Escape the digital plantation now. abibitumi.com, abibitumi.tv, abibitumitv.com, abibitumi.store. We are here for you. Escape the digital plantation.
A new era, a new phase of the struggle, where we have moved from a struggle for decency, which characterized our struggle for 10 or 12 years, to a struggle for genuine equality. And this is where we're getting the resistance, because there was never any intention to go this far. People were reacting to Bull Connor and to Jim Clark rather than acting in good faith for the realization of genuine equality.
Do you think white people in this country, and I'm talking about non-segregationists, people devoid or thinking they're devoid of racism, do you have any idea of what they want the Negro to be in America?
I think the vast majority of white Americans will go but so far. It's a kind of installment plan for equality, and they are always looking for an excuse to go but so far.
And know that this problem needs to be solved, and we can't keep relegating it to generation after generation, because a few of us got a little money, a few of us got positions, a few of us have wealth, while the masses of our people are going steadily down. No one man can rise above the condition of his people. See, brother said responsibility. Is it that we should let them take responsibility to do for us, or should we pool the knowledge that's at the table, the power that's in our community, the wealth that's in our community to change the harsh reality of black life in America? We have to do the job of fulfilling the black agenda. Thank you.
Whites are expert game players in their contests to maintain absolute power. One of their time-honored gimmicks is to point to individual blacks who've achieved recognition. But look at Ralph Bunche. Think about Lena Horne or Marian Anderson. Look at Jackie Robinson. They made it as one of those who has made it. I would like to be thought of as an inspiration to our young, but I don't want them lied to. Name them for me. Examples of blacks who made it. For virtually everyone you name, I can give you a sordid piece of factual information on how they have been mistreated, humiliated. Not being able to fight back is a form of severe punishment.
I come here tonight and plead with you. Believe in yourself and believe that you're somebody. As I said to the group last night, nobody else can do this for us. No document can do this for us. No Lincolnian Emancipation Proclamation can do this for us. No Kennysonian or Johnsonian Civil Rights Bill can do this for us. If the Negro is to be free, he must move down into the inner resources of his own soul and sign with a pen and ink of self-assertive manhood his own Emancipation Proclamation. Don't let anybody take your manhood.
Time for an Awakening is a proud part of the Black Talk Radio Network, the #1 independent black digital and podcasting platform.
Welcome back to Time for an Awakening. It's 9:35 on this Sunday edition of Time for an Awakening. We're in open forum and we're starting to wind down. But let me go back to Philadelphia. You still there?
Yes, I am.
What I wanted to say in reference to something that you said when you were quoting some of the things that Warnock said when he became, well, I think it was when he was campaigning to be senator. And about, if you don't stand for something, then when they come for you, it's nobody there to help you. And
yes, sir.
And I remember what was stated by an elected official, and let me read it because I got it right in front of me, and I want to pull it up during that break. It states here, Adams wants to spend his final days in the promised land. And there's something that he said here. The Jewish weekly publication Mixpah asked the Brooklyn Borough president at the time if he would be an advocate for Israel as other mayors. He stated, I visited Israel twice. I'm going back again, and I'm going to try to buy a plot of land there so I can be my retirement place. I love the people of Israel. I love the food. I love the culture. I love the dance. I love everything about Israel, said Adams. So you got two men that said something similar, but now this guy in New York is in trouble because he's supposed to have influenced other foreign governments have influenced him for favors. Mm-hmm. The funny thing about that is I think he's accused of doing something for Egypt, some representatives for Egypt and Turkey.
That's correct.
The last time I looked, Egypt was like a half ally of the United States. And, and Turkey is a NATO member.
That's correct.
Along with other European nations. So he's in trouble for them peddling influence or wanting to get influence out of him. When you got a whole slew of in fact, everybody in that black caucus, 90%, maybe 99% of these black mayors and other politicians, state representatives and everything else have taken junkets, have been to Israel several times. What is that for if it's not for influence? A guy like Jeffries done been to Israel about, he done outbeat some of his white colleagues. He done been to Israel so much. He been there about six or seven times. They're doing that for influence. So what's the difference between what this guy up here in New York did and what Jeffries, Warnock, the whole slew of them have been doing with Israel? They do the same thing. See, our people got to get tired of this foolishness.
Exactly. And like I said, why? And like you said, why is you coming down, make an example out of this clown and stuff in New York, the Mayor Adams? When, like you said, we can point to Jeffries, you can point to Meeks, you can point to the one hand Philadelphia, the whatever. All of them be getting money off of Israel, and which is, like you said, the last I look, is a foreign entity. So why is it? Because he's getting money from Turkey and Egypt, who you don't consider because they may have some people of color, and you don't, and you look at it from in terms of racial, but it's okay for him to get all kinds of peddle all kind of money and influence from the racist Zionist state of Israel because they happen to be ran by Ashkenazi Jews. And it's so funny, Elliott, because I heard a clip by Minister Farrakhan. It just came up on my phone just yesterday because I went to a friend's wedding over in Jersey, and it popped on my phone. And Minister was saying about, he said it's not about the Semitic. He said, how dare you call me an anti-Semite? He said, when I'm a Semitic people, he said, Palestinians are Semitic people. He said, the ones that's not a Semitic people, and he says, not no hatred or rather, he says, just the truth. These Ashkenazi Jews, he said, they're Europeans. And see, this all goes back to what you always say. It's not about the religion and stuff. They're Europeans. At the end of Netanyahu's a European, man. If you didn't take the word Jew or look at his name, he got the same mindset of most white men and stuff, that murderous, racist, hateful mentality like most of them got. He like his brother and sister and got, whether they're over there in Europe or whether they're over here in the United States, they got that mindset and stuff, man. He's a European and stuff, and the minister made sure he emphasized that. He's Ashkenazi, you Europeans, man. You come and take over somebody's land, and then when the people fight back, you murder them, you displace them, starting back in 1948, and then you got the audacity to label them terrorists. You know, I mean, these people got stuff with them, man, and stuff. See, when you talk about October 7th, if you don't talk about what happened before October 7th, then all you doing is just playing games and stuff, man. And this is what this white controlled media has did. They want to make everything October 7th as if Palestinians and Jews was living side by side, saying kumbaya, kumbaya. Come on, man, this foolishness and stuff. And you got your black elected officials, they get right up there and repeat the same old nonsense and stuff like that. Oh, Hamas for October the 7th. Man, come and give me a break with that foolishness and stuff, man. You got to know that when you deal with these Europeans, man, you have to know history. You have to know from what your starting point, man. You got to know how things started and how we got to where we at now and stuff. If you don't do that, then you might as well just keep your mouth shut and keep it moving, because all you're doing is whistling away and keeping our people in a perpetual state of ignorance and darkness. And our people don't need that. We need to be awakened and stuff, man. And lastly, Elliott, again, when you got people like a Linda Greenfield Thomas, a Langley, a Lloyd Austin. I mean, these people that one is Biden's press secretary. I mean, these people are disgraced, man. They get that false impression to the world that we as a people, not their individual sellout selves, that we as a people supporting this madness, whether it's going over there in Gaza, whether with the madness that's going over there in Russia, Ukraine, we support giving arms to Zelensky. They think that we support, and the average Baptists don't support that stuff, man. But these people give our people a false impression because they're in the media, the white media props these people up, and some of our people sadly look at these people as leaders, man. Because I never forget, Brother Elliott Richard, with Condoleezza Rice on Black Terrestrial Radio Station in Philadelphia, our late brother Wayne Moore, who's an ancestor now, beautiful brother. He used to tell Brother Cody, God rest his soul as well, he used to tell Cody when Cody was trying to, and Cody meant well, but again, when you misguided, you have to write, he would try to say, well, I don't agree with Condoleezza Rice politics, but her and Colin Powell, they are black people, and that's somebody that our people could aspire to be. And Brother Wayne said, "Oh no, Cody, I can't go along." He said, "No." He said they might be black, but as Cecil Moore say, they may be my color, but they're not my kind. He said both of them are dangerous. They are willing participants in the genocide of other people, and they nothing but mouthpieces for the United States to put forth this racist, imperial, white supremacist policy and filter this filth around the world. I'm not admiring these people. These people need to be called out on the carpet and stuff like that. He said, "No, Brother Cody." He said, "We got way more good black folks that we can look up to. Our young people can aspire to be like Ozzie Davis said on that clip, God rest his soul. Like he said, I want to be an inspiration to our young, but I don't want them lied to." I mean, take a picture in the Kodak moment, Elliott Richard, with what Brother Ozzie Davis said. I want to be an inspiration for all people lied to. So we should never let this white media make people like Condoleezza Rice, Colin Powell, Lyndon Greenfield Thomas, and Austin as examples for our people, our young people, any other people in our race, whether they're young or old. These people are disgraced. These people are not about moving our people forward. They high-paid mouthpieces of white supremacy and everything. The filter that's filtered around the world that hurts and kills and maims and take from those that's less fortunate than ourselves. So we should never, ever speak highly of people like that, man, because they are not in our corner at all. And that should always be emphasized and stuff, you know. So again, Ellie, I know y'all and Richard want to tie this, so I'll end it with that, Ellie. Just put me on mute, and I'll listen for the rest of the show.
Thanks for your contribution.
You're welcome.
And again, before we wind things down, let me go back to Newport News. Newport News.
Yeah, Brother Elliott, I wanted to get one other thing in because I know you got a recorded program. I stuck it in the chat. The interesting thing to me is I wanted to include the other thing. I listen to a lot of X Spaces, you know, with a lot of people. Matter of fact, some of the people that I thought would be in this crowd was CJ. And these people don't even want to acknowledge the free speech conundrum that's going on with the Uhuru movement. I won't repeat some of the things I've heard, but it's interesting to me when I tell you about the peeping out the bathroom window. That's what I'm talking about. Our people have become so focused on the front called immigration, so they don't understand this is a perimeter 360. I don't have to agree with everybody that's taking care of certain flanks, but I have to agree on who the enemy is to be focused. What is reparations? What should you have expected out of California? And I'm telling you, if you want a surprise, I told you, I've been watching some of these people and was in focus groups with them a decade ago. And I sent to you in your email me calling them out back in February over what's transpiring now. If we don't, as a people, define what reparations is, then agree that what we're doing now is racial equity and building toward unity. I don't have to agree with you if you're a Pan-Africanist, and my personal take is I think you conflate reparations with fighting white supremacy. That's my personal take. I can discuss it with you, and if you check your email, you'll see why, because I plan to do this. My point is you still have to figure out who the enemy is. And for anybody, and I told you, I walked away from certain people I was involved with 10 years ago because they couldn't understand that. And I'll leave with this. I'm country, so I use it. Back 10 years ago, when I walked away, I kept telling them, immigration is an important part of this mosaic. But if you take it out, it doesn't change the fact that we are looking for what? Revolution. Changing this dynamic totally. Mm-hmm. And you cannot do it worried about the feelings of white people. It ain't going to work that way. Much love to you, brother. Like I said, keep on doing that work.
Thank you for your contribution again, brother. Listen, our guest that we have scheduled for this evening, we'll try to reschedule him. I know we got another guest coming up next week, but we'll try to get them back on because that issue going on out there is a continuous issue, and it's a lot of activism centered around it as far as the direct action steps that's planned in moving forward. And I don't want to say a lot of those things now. I'll let some of the activists mention some of those things themselves. But we'll try to get Brother Chris Loxon on at another time when we can schedule him again. Before we go this evening, want to just get the lineup on time for an Awakening Media, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., African Perspectives. With Brother Oshie, always interesting topics, dialogue, and guests on African Perspectives. That's Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Later on in the week, Mississippi on the Move, the Black Liberation Movement in Mississippi from 9 to 10. Brother Patrick Lumumba, Brother Malik Hayes, Sister Crystal Denise, Brother Rodney Lowe for a host, One Mission, Mississippi on the Move. Friday's Time for Awakening is back from 8 to 10. On Saturdays, the Elders of Sankofa with Dr. Janine James is host from 7 to 9. On Sundays, every other Sunday, bi-weekly, or twice a month, however you want to term it. Reparations Now, where Brother Jamoki is host. Also, the addition of another program on Sunday, and the time is going to be nailed down, possibly by next week. The activist Reverend Pinckney will be doing a program on Time for an Awakening. The activist Reverend from up there in Benton Harbor, Michigan, will be doing a program on Sundays, possibly 5 o'clock or 4:30. We'll nail it down so I can let the Time for Awakening audience know. And then Sundays from 7 until Time for an Awakening is back. I want to thank everybody for listening to the program this evening. Lively discussion as always, and we'll be back on Friday, Lord willing, to continue on this path towards an awakening. Peace.
If you're driving through the country on a lazy afternoon, or you're watching your children playing after school, they seem to be so unaware of, I know, the things that they'll soon have to take care of. We've got to do something, yeah, to save the children. Soon it will be their turns to try and save the world. Right now they seem to play such a small part of the things that they'll soon be right at the heart of. My little Tommy, he said he wants to be a fireman. And little Mary, she said she got to teach school. If we know, or we say we know about the problem, why can't we do something to try and solve them? We've got to do something, yeah, to save the children. Soon it will be their turns to try and save the world. children. To save the children.